My name is Clive Fox and I'm a fisheries scientist based at the Scottish Association for Marine Science in Oban. Over the last few years there has been a lot of interest in improving the management of inshore fisheries around Scotland. There are many aspects to inshore fisheries management, including how data are collected, how advice is provided and how management decisions are made. These aspects are covered by the work packages in a project called Evidence Gathering in Support of Sustainable Scottish Inshore Fisheries. And as part of this project, we've been working on ways to visualise fisheries data. Our concept is that such visualisations can be delivered across the internet, allowing stakeholders to become more involved in analysing and understanding fishing activities in their area. Web-based delivery means that stakeholders would also not need to rely on expensive geographic information software. They just need an internet connection and a standard web browser. In this short video, I want to show you a pilot visualization system we've been working on, which we call the Inshore Fisheries Data Explorer. Afterwards, we'll invite you to try the system for yourself, and then we'll ask for some feedback via a short survey.
Okay, so let's get started by opening the web page at http://brunson.com/footprint, and the address is in the email which we sent you. I'm using Firefox here, but other browsers should work fine. On the operational version we'd have a login screen, and that's because fisheries data is often sensitive, so users may only wish their data to be seen by certain people. And this access can be controlled by the system administrator based on the login details. However, for the purpose of this demonstration, this feature has been deactivated and you'll be able to see all the data layers we've created so far. Once we've logged into the system, we can see a map of the UK, and we can either use the zoom controls to move in closer, or we can use the pull down menu to jump to a region of interest. In this demo we have focused on two trial areas, the Firth of Clyde and the Murray Firth. So let's have a look at the Clyde area in more detail. On the left hand panel we have options to select and control various data layers. The first layer we might be interested in shows marine protected areas. We can also control the opacity of each layer using its slider control. And this feature becomes really useful later on because it will let us overlay and blend different layers. If we now hover our mouse over a particular MPA and click, we are then presented with more details about that area. In an operational version we'd include information about any restricted activities in the area, but because the management plans for the MPAs are still being developed, this information is omitted at present. Okay, let's have a look at the next layer. This shows the Admiralty chart for the region, and again we can zoom in to see more detail. In recent years we've begun to build up a much better picture of the shape of the seabed based on modern multi-beam acoustic surveys. And clicking on the next layer loads up the latest available multi-beam data for the area, and we can get a nice visualization if we also turn on the Admiralty chart and adjust the opacity of the two layers. You might notice that quite a lot of the outer Firth of Clyde is lacking multi-beam data, but surveys are being planned to fill in these gaps over the next few years. In addition, multi-beam data can be used to discriminate between different sediment types, and this could form another layer in a future version of the viewer. Now these two layers only become really useful if we start combining them with visualizations of fishing activity, which is what we'll look at next. The first fishing activity layer we can display comes from the ScotMap project run by Marine Scotland, and this is what we call a static data layer, which means that the user can't change the data displayed. ScotMap data were collected using surveys of local fishers, and they provide a snapshot summary of where certain activities occur in the inshore waters around Scotland. In this layer, we're just showing where trawling for prawns occurs, but ScotMap data exist for a range of other activities, such as scallop dredging, potting, and so on. What is of perhaps more interest is the ability to display new data being collected in near real time, which we call dynamic data. As part of the larger inshore fisheries project, vessels are being fitted with location monitoring systems, and these will record the vessel's positions every few minutes, and so build up a more detailed picture of where the boats are operating. Eventually, this will produce near real-time updates of the sort of data collected in the ScotMap project. So here we are just showing some mock vessel location data, but this will be replaced with real data as the project progresses. One problem with location data is it doesn't tell you what a vessel is doing. It could be steaming to or from port, setting gear, or actually fishing. Because of this, we want to provide the user with some controls over which records are displayed. So let's assume we're interested in trawling, where the tows are taking place. And when a vessel trawls, its speed is likely to be around 2 to 3 knots, but when steaming to or from port, it will probably be travelling faster. So we can use the pull down menu and the speed restrictions to display data where trawlers met these conditions. The data are displayed as a so-called heat map, where the colour of the rectangle relates to the number of times vessels were reported to be in that square. So we're showing a summary of the data rather than the individual vessel tracks. The last function I want to demonstrate is the display of catch data. These data can come from various sources, including paper log sheets, where skippers manually record catches. However, paper records are increasingly being replaced with electronic reporting, and ways in which this can be applied to inshore fisheries are being covered by another work package in the overall project. Again, for the purposes of demonstrating the Explorer, we are just going to show some mocked up data for a limited number of fishing types and target species. So we can select whether we want to view the total amount caught in an area or the catch per unit effort. Again, the system generates a heat map which summarizes the underlying data down to 0.65 nautical miles squares. For an operational version, we might want to set the minimum square size to a larger area, and that would be up for discussion with potential users. We can also select either a fishery of interest, for example creels, a particular target species, for example prawns or brown crab, and a date range to include. And the system will automatically update and display the data for that set of filter choices. We can now blend the result with another layer, for example the Admiralty chart, and that will give us a better idea of where the catches are coming from.
We think there are many exciting future developments for interactively displaying these sorts of data. For example, we could include graphs of how the catches change over time. Again, our concept is to give the viewer as much control over what data is displayed as possible. We believe that this will not only help give inshore fisheries stakeholders a feeling of ownership over the data, but also encourage discussion as users can explore the data together. We hope you found this demonstration interesting, and we'd now like to invite you to explore the data viewer for yourself by logging in to the address provided in the email we sent to you. Afterwards, we hope you'll find time to send us some feedback via the short survey, for which a link is also provided in the email and will be displayed at the end of this presentation.